The Redeemer was a story that I knew I had to write after having visited the Balkans during the NATO bombing of Belgrade. I went there to write a story, a documentary, together with another writer, and I met with a captain, Croatian captain, who had been in the village of Vukovar during the Serbian siege of the city. And he was a guy that he had lived a very tough life, and you could tell. It was impossible to find him, so I had to go to this hotel where he lived more or less in hiding. And I wasn't allowed to meet him, but when I went back to my hotel, there was a guy waiting in the lobby for me, and that was this captain. So he had sort of already picked up my name and knew where I was. So it was a bit scary, but he took me, he spoke to me, we went to a bar, we had a drink, and when he had decided that he trusted me, he took me to his home, and he showed me a video of when he was there fighting against the Serbs. He had gone to the hospital to film what was going on there, because at that time they had no medicine left, where they during the siege had run out of anesthesia and medicine, and so they had to operate on the patients without anything. And he showed me this picture of this guy who was getting his left foot amputated, and I can still remember his hand, you know, grabbing the sheets of the bed. There was no sound on the video, and we were just looking at this scene, and at the same time his friend were making bacon and eggs in the kitchen, so we had the smell from the kitchen coming into the living room. And he told me about his story when he got captured, and he told me about the torture. And when I was about to leave, they started talking, him and his friend, about a guy they had seen in the city who was probably a Serb, and they were discussing whether he may have been part of the siege. And I don't know what happened after that, but in my head it sort of developed this idea of a Croatian guy who had been in Vukovar during the war, and had become a hired killer for Croatians who wanted to take revenge of the Serbs. And he, more or less by accident, got into the profession. And when the story in The Redeemer starts, this guy is on his last job, and he's going to Oslo. And it's supposed to be a very easy job. And he shoots this officer in the Salvation Army. And on his way back from Oslo, the plane is delayed and he has to stay behind, and long enough so that he can read the news. And when he reads the news, he realizes that he has killed the wrong guy. So that is the sort of where the story starts. It starts with something taken from real life, and I've just put it into a story of fiction. In The Redeemer, much of the research I'd already done, writing a book together with another guy about the wars in the Balkans. So I didn't go back to do research especially for this guy, because sometimes you get in trouble if you do too much research. It sort of blocks the way for the fantasy and the fiction part of it. So I think that you have to do enough research so that you can write with authority, but at the same time, if you if you invest too much of your time in research, you tend to use too much of the research, that you sort of feel an obligation because of the time you spent on research to use it in the book, and that there's a danger that it will become very boring, and that you're sort of a schoolmaster instead of a crime writer. And I often tell myself that, okay, I spent enough time doing research now. I know enough. If I know more now, it's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. So I definitely did not go back. The Redeemer was sort of a new start for me, because the last 3 books, they were part of a story with a set of characters with Harry as the protagonist and Tom Waller as the antagonist. But it was, I think that the Redeemer took hopefully the best parts of the Redbreasts, that technique of writing, of using history, and again a war history, and hopefully also the best parts of the Devil Star, where you have this hard-boiled crime story with fast-paced action scenes. So it was, I think of the Redeemer as, the Redbreast and Devil Star put together. Sort of a greatest hits, in techniques. The Salvation Army, they were very nice to me. They were very happy about me writing or including them in the story, and I also told them that it would be there would be good guys and bad guys from the Salvation Army in the story, and they were just very happy with it, and they helped me a lot. And most of the research that I did within the Salvation Army, I did in cooperation with the Salvation Army, so I had no problems there. Although it is a closed society, and that's what I wanted. I grew up not being part of, but being definitely in contact with, religious groups that lived in this sort of closed society, and so I've always been very fascinated with that. And also, Hárry Hole is part of a closed milieu at the police house in Oslo, where you have this loyalty within the group that is very important, and that you're more or less at war with the outside world, you feel at times. It also is very, it's a good thing for writing drama, conflicts between persons and secrets not being told. So it's a drama that has a bit of Henrik Ibsen in it, I think. I write more and more in a filmic way. A very important influence for me as a writer has been crime stories on film. More important than crime novels, actually. So it's just a natural way for me to write. I think in scenes. For example, if I have a day scene, I would automatically use a night scene in the next chapter. If it's been a very close encounter with people in a small room, in the next scene there would be wide open spaces. It's just a feeling of feeling for what you want in the story, what you see visually around you, light if you want, close-ups, or if you want more of a tableau. I think for my generation, it's the way we think when we think in terms of stories, that we're influenced by films. And I also think that Nowadays, you see that many of the best stories are told in films and not in novels. I think that one of my most important influences are Frank Miller. Not necessarily his movies, but his graphic novels, because it combines literature with pictures. In my next life, I think I will try to make graphic novels, actually.